spring 2025, and about 2 weeks after I ripped out the gravel and a little bit more than half of the main pond. I pulled out the gravel from the bottom and from the upper shelf, which is from the furthest most right of the picture over to the waterfall. And you can actually see right in front of the tree stump there's what looks like two steps from there towards the tree stump. Over to the left is another big rock and the log. That's the whole area in the upper area. And the water is crystal clear. You're looking through 5.5 feet of water. Fish are happy. It's not warm out, that's for sure, but they're certainly swimming around and looking for a lot of food. But seeing as it's barely 50 degrees out today, the bacteria still isn't thriving at this point, so I'm being very stingy about how much food I do feed them. But so far so good. I'm very happy with the results. My mosses are all starting to come in. This green moss I absolutely love. It's so vibrant. You can see it over here as well. Problem is the damn birds keep plucking away at it, looking for insects underneath it or taking it away for nesting. Definitely a love-hate relationship. Love that the wildlife is around, but I hate that they're stripping my favorite moss. A couple of the fish do have a little bit of a bacterial issue. This one right here, the white and orange, he's got one spot on his tail. Just waiting for the temperatures to get up so I can treat them. I could catch them and see what we can do there, but it's nothing serious at this point. I also have another fish. When I was draining the pond down, he got too close and he had his tail sucked into the submersible pump. Ripped his tail right off. And he's a twin to this guy right here. See how beautiful his tail is. His brother's tail was very much the same, but not anymore. So I was going to lose him. He was belly up for a day. Yeah, I put some Start Right in the tank with him, and he has since recovered. This is Coda. Coda I've had for about 8 years. Growing nice and slowly. Everybody wants to seem to have these giant fish. I want no part of giant fish. I'm very happy with them growing slowly. The Gajaku is doing well this year. His spots in his scalation are really starting to fill out. Not exactly the cleanest fish, but he's getting better. That orange going down the bottom there, that's one of my babies. He's actually like 6 years old this year. And you can see he's not that big, and I really don't care. I like the Ganadude. This one here, Kai. This fish is 7 years old now. We got him originally with the pond. He disappeared for almost 2 years. He was hiding behind the rocks. And he's turned into a beautiful fish. Might look like this pond's not that deep right there, but you're actually looking through 5.5 feet of water. That's how clear the water is right now. Very, very happy with the way the pond is going so far this year. No torrential downpours like we had when Aquascapes came out to see the pond. And here's the brother. You can see his tail is completely ripped off. Look at it, he didn't lose the fish altogether. I mean, he got sucked right into the end of a 2,000 gallon submersible pump. And he's doing well now. I throw food in the tank, in the pond, and he's all over it. There's a bacterial issue on his tail. He's a little stronger than I'd like, but considering what he's gone through, it's not that bad. I am thinking about installing some artificial turf. You can see one piece there in the center of the picture. I'm thinking of doing that whole upper area right in the center. Keep things easier for me as I get older. This is the gravel that is next. I'll pull this out in either the fall or the spring again. I did not want to shock the pond when I pulled the gravel out in the other two areas. I had salamanders, shrimp, copepods, worms, caterpillars, insects. I have no idea what the hell they were. And I can only imagine what the microscopic stuff was, or things I just didn't see. So I didn't want to shock the pond. I left some of the gravel in two areas here. And right underneath the log, you can see a couple of smaller rocks. There's a small area right there down the bottom. Those two areas will pull out next year. But what I did was all along the outside edges of the pond, I actually left gravel underneath those rocks. So while there may not be a large area of gravel like this, there is going to be gravel underneath all the rocks and boulders. So worked so far. We'll see how it turns out in the end. And yes, I do have a net set up across the back of the pond. You can see it when I zoom in on the waterfall in the back here. But when I come back out, I know it's there and I can barely see it. Coming and hanging off that pole over on the right hand side of the picture, and it goes across to my garage up at the peak. And I installed another net from the garage hanging out over the walkway in the pond, so the birds wouldn't land on the roof and then decide to swoop down into the pond. I enjoyed fish tanks when I was younger, and I've done saltwater reef aquarium and a planted fish tank. Both were really something to see, especially the planted fish tank. I actually had shaft-tailed finch birds up above the fish tank. It was an open top with a 2.5 foot waterfall coming down into the open fish tank. Plants, made a waterproof shelf. I basically fed the birds, never fed the fish. The birds would poop in the water, and the fish would absolutely devour it. My favorite fish right there. One of my babies. This color is not showing on the camera. He is so bright, it's unbelievable. Yeah, it may not look too deep there, but it's actually 5.5 feet down to those rocks you see on the bottom. Yeah, for anyone who does not know my page, I have a matrix bog with the aquascape style centipede, snorkel, and aqua blocks. I did use the larger ones because I wanted a larger sedimentation area for settling. I also have a second smaller bog. I'm sorry, the first bog is actually 20 feet by 8 feet by about 6 feet deep. The second bog is actually right in front of it. You can barely see it. So from that tree stump, you see the dead plant there. That's actually hibiscus that's growing in that lower bog. So I have the two bogs. That bog, the lower bog there with the hibiscus, is actually just a pea stone. It's a PVC pipe making like a trident shape, and just pushes the water out in the bottom of the stone. And then I also have a GC Tech bead filter. So they actually altered a little bit. The intake for the GC Tech was just 3 little stubs, and they were vertical. I made those 3 little stubs into horizontal. I lifted them up about 4 inches inside the GC Tech, putting up as high as I possibly could inside the containment area, the bead, the ball, and have the intakes now horizontal running across the top 3 13-inch pipe, 2-inch pipe with grooves cut into them. So I went from having 3 4-inch for a total of 12 inches to having 36 inches of perforated pipe as the intake. The idea is to flow the sediment from being pulled through the beads. So that way the sediment gets trapped in the beads and it's not just pulled right through. So all the beads throughout the entire that is doing their job, not just 3 little concentrated areas. And it seems to be working very, very well so far. This area here is the opening to the intake bay. From this rock on the right hand side, dead center, how it comes across the picture, and then there's water. That's the intake opening. I have a wall of stone down below it. So only about 4 inches of rock, 4 inches of water get over the top there. Right there. And then the water gets pulled into what I call a dead pool in the back there. And there I allow the sediment to either drop out in the water there, where it's easy to clean, or I'll just net it out. Meanwhile, it keeps the pond pretty clean. It's a windy day today. The trees are dropping their buds. You can see some of them floating in the water, not many. I have a return jet over here on the right. You can see it agitating the surface, and that blows the water over towards the intake bay. And the tree stump floating in the middle, that's actually pretty important. The tree stump is separating where the clean water coming down from the waterfall comes down, hits that tree stump, and is pushed over to the right hand side there where there's not a lot of current. Now, not all the water's going over there. It's not that strong a current, but it is forcing the water towards that direction, where it then is hitting this jet, being forced all throughout the pond, heading over towards the intake bay. And the intake bay, it doesn't collect at all. Whatever gets on the far side of that little tree stump there is pretty much gone. It gets concentrated against the, in between the rocks, and it gets pulled into the back. Maybe on my side of the tree stump, just drops off. Happy ponding.